Hey there, folks. If you're enjoying this Clair Obscur analysis, if you're enjoying pixelprojectradio, please consider doing one of two things. First, please consider sharing our episodes on social media, liking, reposting, sharing with friends. Word of mouth is still 100% the best way to get podcasts discovered. It would be really appreciated. Second, if you haven't done so already, please consider giving us a rating or a review on your podcast app of choice, Spotify, Podcast Addict, Apple Podcast, etc. That helps get us into Al Gore's rhythm and helps us get discovered by new potential listeners. Even if it's a review that's mixed or just somewhat positive or even somewhat negative, any feedback is appreciated. Thanks, on to the show. Also, at one point, someone's audio picks up a bunch of cicada noise. Nothing I could have done about it. Didn't notice until afterwards. Sorry. Now, on to the episode for real. Welcome back to Pixel Project Radio. This is part 3 of our ongoing Clair Obscur analysis. Frack from the 3DO podcast, Frack Ops podcast, joins me again. How's it going, Frack?
It's going great. How are you?
Pretty good, my friend. Pretty good. We've got a lot to cover today. Act 2, as you said in the last episode, Frack, is quite long. I had forgotten how long it was compared to the rest of the game. So there's quite a bunch in here. We're going to get through it. I want to start with some forgotten community forum responses. I had put up the call for responses a little bit late, so we had a couple stragglers, and I'm going to read them now. First up is from Dr. Toot. Ted? Dr. Tot. Here's what Dr. Tot says. A triumph. So rare has a game's premise felt so spectacularly singular and alluring. From the opening steps taken in Lumiere, this is a world painted in rich color. That's color with a U, which makes it fancier. Steeped in folklore and drawn to convey a fundamentally human story. With a balance of levity and tragedy, Clair Obscur is a high-wire act that somehow succeeds on every level. In short, I'll say that my save is resting just before the game's final sequence, as this is a world that I just do not want to leave. Editing these for just a little bit more brevity, by the way. I think I can co-sign all of that.
Yeah, sounds great. A lot of people, I've heard this from many people saying that they just really didn't want to leave the world because they just enjoyed it so much and like did all the side quests and all that stuff. So,
yeah, I've never been able to relate to not finishing a game or a book or a movie because you don't want it to end, but I can understand it.
Yeah. Usually by the end, I'm ready for it to be over, you know. But sometimes I want to revisit it, you know, which I think is a different feeling.
We've got Adam from the Spectre Approved Pod. Adam says this. What I like to describe as Hell's Paradise meeting Final Fantasy in an amazing homage to the greats of the RPG genre. Fantastic characters with actual backstory, a bunch of great battle systems, creative and thematic weapons, and ridiculous hairstyles and clothes, and a game that gave me a mime phobia by its conclusion. Definitely a Game of the Year contender for me. Did we talk about the mimes?
I was just about to say, I don't think we ever talked about the mimes.
Yeah, the mimes have a terrific soundtrack, a terrific theme that's playing right now. It's one of my favorites. They're a cool fight because they force you to break them if you want to do any actual damage to them. Yeah,
they're so for those who don't know, the mimes are these like kind of secret bosses, I guess, you can just find throughout the game. I was able to beat, I think it's the first one, like at the very start of the game, I was able to beat him. And then, but it was a tough fight, like even right then. And then occasionally I would find another one and I'd be like, let's just see. And then I would attack it and it would like take off so little damage it didn't even show on the bar. And I went, oh, I'm fucked. Yeah. This is not going to go very well for me. So yeah, I was only able to beat one of them. But I mean, I like that they're there, you know, these kind of like Marceau looking guys, you know.
Fortunately, they've only got 2 attacks, and the attacks kind of catch you off guard with the spacing between each hit, but once you get the timing down, they become fairly easy, I think.
I will believe you on this one, because I never bothered to deal with them after a certain point. I was just like, I'm good, man.
You get alternate hairstyles if you do, which is cool.
Oh, that's cool. Do you get wacky Final Fantasy hairstyles?
Well, some of them, like you can get a baguette hairstyle that's like Lune will wear a beret and sunglasses, but some of them are like just normal hairstyles.
Okay. Because if they were looking like I can't remember his name, but it's like the main villain in Final Fantasy X. Like if you get his kind of wacky hair.
I think you mean Seymour, right?
That's probably who I'm thinking of. Yes.
Yeah.
He's got a wacky hairstyle.
Yeah, mimes are sick. And lastly, Genova's Child, and I think this is their first community forum correspondence. They say, fantastic game and a much-needed fresh IP, and in parentheses they write cringe, to the AARPG space, AA RPG space.
The AARP.
While I loved the majority of the story, there are some big swings in Act 3 that, for me, undercut the fantastic world building and brilliant character development that precedes it. The majority of the combat was interesting even though Pictos management became cumbersome. Over-reliance on dodge and parrying meant that many bosses were simply impossible without mastery, something I lack. I should have saved this one for the next episode when we get to Act 3 and talk about some of these optional bosses, because everything that Genova's Child is saying will be more relevant in the next episode. So maybe we'll bring this one back whenever we talk about all that.
Yeah, though I do agree a lot of what they are saying here. And I don't think it's cringe to say a fresh IP. I don't know, maybe the cringe part is that they're like thinking it's much needed.
I have heard arguments that overuse of the phrase IP is indicative of the like normalization of capitalist language.
Sure.
I haven't given it a ton of thought, but I see that argument's point.
If that's the way they're going with it, which is, who I do not know, so I can't say one way or the other, but, one thing I like about Expedition 33 is that it is something new, something we haven't seen before, especially in an industry that feels like it's relying more and more on known products, like known entities, and just like sequelizing them, remaking them, remastering them. Mm-hmm. It's nice to see such a big project that is like new and is just kind of like, sweeping everything, and most likely we'll be sweeping awards at the end of the year.
I hope so. Thank you, folks, for contributing. If you want to contribute, just as a reminder, you can join the free Discord and contribute there. The next one is Final Fantasy Tactics, and it's still up for submission. So let's dive into the game. Let's start with a little talk of the Grandis. We left off at Minoko Station last time after fighting Minoko with that killer soundtrack, but we didn't mention the Grandis. What do you think of the Grandis, Thrak?
I'm trying to refresh my brain. The Grandis, is that... Oh, that's that character there. For some reason, I can't remember him right off.
That one guy. He's there.
Yeah,
he's looking at me. The Grandis, they're like those big, rounder creatures that look like they've got large mustaches.
Oh, okay. I'm seeing a picture of them now. Yeah. Those, I like the look of them.
They're pretty sweet. I don't think this game needs a sequel or a DLC. I think it's fine to just have works stand on their own. That's totally cool and preferable to me. But if they were to release DLC that involved like more side quests, I would love to see more of these guys because they kind of begin and end here. Their whole deal is they're a non-violent race. Like they settle disputes with poetry, like poetry battles, slam poetry.
That's great. Like battle rapping.
I'm looking at the wiki and it said that they would hold oratory games every 4 years, and one debate lasted for 96 hours. They're pretty cool. You can get bonus outfits by talking to one of them, finishing his poems for him. Like he gives you line A, you give him line B, that kind of thing. The answers are all super duper obvious what they're looking for, but it's really neat. I like the idea of this pacifist race existing in this dystopian sort of hellscape after the fracture.
Yeah, I agree. That's really cool. But to touch on the sequel or DLC thing, somebody on the development team said that they're going to make some kind of successor to it. That like Clair Obscur is the name of the franchise, and that like Expedition 33 is just one of the stories that they want to tell. Now, I don't necessarily know what that means, but I guess they are hinting at there's going to be more in this world later on, which I get why they would do that, but I just hope that Sandfall doesn't just become like the team that makes the Clair Obscur games. You know what I mean? Agreed.
Yeah, I will support them, however, and I'm rooting for them, and I want to be proven wrong. However, that's a little bit of a bummer for me.
Yeah, A little bit for me too, because there's just something nice and like round about this game. You know what I mean? It's a nice whole. So.
So let's get into it. After we leave Monoko Station, there are some camp conversations. There is a great line from Esquie, if you talk to him with Verso, where he uses the line, "I have a big brain."
I have a big brain.
Which I am absolutely going to clip for future podcast use.
Show how smart you are.
But don't forget too, Verso and Esquie have a history. It is very clear they know each other and have been friends for a very long time.
Yes, and it always plays into whenever they chat with each other, which I love. You know, that they'll give like details about past things, but in like that kind of conversational friendly way. It's not like doing exposition so that the player knows what's going on. They're just like, "Oh, remember that one thing?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, and you did the thing, haha." You know, I like that.
Yes, exactly. We'll talk more on their conversations and the characters' side quests in the next episode, I think.
Mm-hmm.
For now, the plan is to go to Old Lumiere to destroy the Paintress's heart, which is there, which, it follows, will destroy her. This is Verso's plan. So he takes us there. We're at Old Lumiere. I like this area. I think it's neat. It's got the standard deconstructed detritus that we've seen throughout here. Buildings in disarray. Is this the one with the Ferris wheel? No, that was Gustave was there because CO asks him about a date.
Yeah, this is a little bit later. If I remember correctly, this is the area where there's like the big house hanging off the cliff a little bit further on.
I believe you. What I remember most from here are the giant swords sticking out of the ground with like lava-like material dripping off them.
Yeah,
looks metal as shit.
Very metal.
Yeah, dude, it can be. That's the second most metal thing in this game. The first metal thing is an optional boss that we'll get to later, but that I really dislike, but that's another day. We get more talk on the fracture, which might get illuminated in this episode or the next, but largely the group still doesn't know about it. I think that's cool. I like that there are still mysteries in the world that the characters don't know.
Oh, yeah.
So we get up to a building, we've got to go through it, and Monoko says he'll destroy it.
Just admit you can't do it yourself.
And he sure does, but he also blows our party away entirely. It's pretty funny. This leads into a classic split party section. You know, it's a JRPG. You've got to have it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, oh, that silly Monoko.
Yeah. It's pretty funny, too. Group 1 is Monoko, Lune, and CL. And when we see them, Monoko is just sobbing almost uncontrollably. He's like, "I fucked up. I'm sorry, I fucked up."
Monoko! Why the hell did you...
Sorry, I fucked up. I just wanted to show off.
We just have to regroup. The others should be fine. Verso said the heart is in the center of Old Lumiere, right?
I killed everyone.
He was like, "I just wanted to show off." It's pretty funny. Lune is...
I just wanted to be cool.
Why don't you like me?
Oh, that hits too close to home.
Yeah, I know, right? Lune is pretty pissed at him. CL, more pragmatic, wants to keep the peace. I don't remember where this happens. I wrote it out of order, but you can see an apparition of the fading man around here. Like, we've seen the fading young boy.
Yeah.
And I want to read a little bit what the fading man says. Again, not voiced, not SAG eligible, but look, you can hire me. The fading man says this. "These days, I am just a man who sits and thinks. When she was young, she'd get sad thinking about mortality. But when I asked her about her sadness, her answers surprised me. She who painted Nevrons. She wasn't scared of death itself. She was sad because there are more works of art than she'd ever be able to see in her lifetime. All the beauty in the world she'd never get to experience. That saddened her." He goes on, "It's important to remember the ones we love, to keep them alive in our minds when they are far away." This really resonates with me. I think about this a lot.
Yeah, it's very poignant.
Yeah, this idea, and this is why I have no problems putting a game down if it's not speaking to me, maybe come back later, maybe not, putting a book down, whatever. Even if you and I only played, read, watched things that we would love, we knew that we would love or really, really like. We will never get to all of that in our lifetime. Never.
Yeah, exactly. And even if we just did things that we liked, there's always that one thing that we miss that could have been our favorite thing. You know? Like, there's just so much in the way of, like, you know, art and media and entertainment that, yeah, as you said, we will never truly get to experience. And it's a weirdly, like, it makes you think about your mortality. You know, that, like, the idea that, like, oh, I may never discover, like, my all-time favorite band if I had heard them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that kind of thing. Or even, like, play my all-time favorite game. I mean, I don't know how anything could top Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but, you know, maybe something out there could, but there's a chance I'll never know.
It does. You're right. It does make you think about mortality a lot. I've been thinking about that, I swear, ever since Outer Wilds. Maybe even a little before that.
Yeah.
But it's... I don't know. It puts me in this like gridlocked state where I can't think about it because it's disconcerting, but I want to. So those conflicting forces just kind of hold me tight and I can't really move internally, you know?
Yeah, like sometimes I get way too into that like idea that like, oh, I'm going to die one day.
Yeah.
You know, and then like you think about it too much and then it just... you can feel yourself kind of freaking out almost, you know, like internally, and I'm like disassociating almost, and it's like I need to come back because, you know, when you think about it too much, it really fucks with you.
Yeah, as Jean-Paul Sartre said, we must find our own way in the life, though. Existence precedes essence.
Exactly. One thing I find interesting about the Fading Man is is that his face, you don't see his face. Like, his head is, like, you see everything else, like the hat, the suit, and everything, but his face, it's just an empty spot. Because with the Fading Boy, you see his face.
I don't think you do.
I thought you did. Or at least you see the hole where his face would be.
I thought you saw that on the man, too.
I feel like it wasn't there. Like, there wasn't anything. Like, no neck, even.
Either way, I think the important thing is their face/head is obscured in some way.
Yes.
It's cleared in some way.
Yes.
By the way, She Who Paints Neverons, of course we assume that's the Paintress. We're going to learn more about this, and I love it. Probably next episode. Maybe this episode. Back to our group, though. Doubts about Verso begin to surface, specifically from Lune and Cio. Lune says, you know, I trust him only insofar as it seems like he'll help us reach our goal. But what's his deal? What's his background? Why is he here? What's going on? And they try to ask Minoko, but he seems a little cagey about it. You know, they'll say, "What's Verso's? How do you know Verso?" I knew him all my life. How did I meet Verso? He just doesn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're getting to that point where it feels like Verso is kind of just becoming normalized in the group. So I think it's smart of the writers to be like that. The character should be going, you know, where did this guy come from? Why is he here? Why is it? Like, something here is kind of weird that he just kind of showed up, and that's the big deal. So, you know, and with Minoko being cagey about it is in a way kind of telling.
Oh yeah. Lune finds Journal 58, and we don't know what she's reading. She's reading silently, but she immediately becomes worried. She's like, what the fuck? And then she says, we have to look for Maelle. Before it cuts to our next group, to Verso and Maelle, Minoko says,
Verso would never harm her.
Getting a little bit of a cliffhanger, a little bit of a red herring in a way.
Yeah.
We don't know this guy. He could be looking to harm Maelle.
Yeah, I mean, there's the whole, you know, Renoir situation where it's just this guy appeared out of nowhere and just caused all the harm. It's like Verso could be, you know, more of like a secret agent type of deal, you know?
Yeah, 0058. So we cut to Verso and Maelle. Noko is there too. We're going to talk more about Noko in a little bit. We'll see. Verso and Maelle get further separated here, and while looking for him, Maelle finds this grand manor, seemingly frozen in time, well intact despite the overall destitution in Old Lumiere. And she can't shake the feeling that she's been here before, that she knows this place. Did you make this connection pretty quickly? I thought it was fairly obvious. What about you?
What, the connection that Maelle had been here before?
No, that this is the manor that we go to if we go into the doors. scattered throughout.
Yeah, I did make that connection. It made too much sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, she's sort of transfixed. Like, it's got a hold on her, and she doesn't know if it's, like, pernicious or just nostalgic or what. But she approaches it, and the door opens. And we see, I can't remember, is this the first time we see this woman? I think it is.
I think it is.
I think it is, too. It's a curator-esque woman. Think of the curator, but with long hair and a feminine body. And that's it. The door opens and she's there. This is where Verso comes out of nowhere, jumps forward. He says, I knew you'd open the door for her. And out walks Renoir. And he says, really, Verso? This was your plan? We see Alicia is with them. Remember the white-haired girl? She hugs the woman. Yep. Verso looks on, incredulous, as the door closes on the two women. Renoir is just outside now. And he poses an interesting perspective.
How many times must you hurt our family?
No, you don't get to lecture me on family.
Why do you refuse to see I am doing this for us? Yet you insist on rushing toward death. You're trying to stop the wrong cycle.
You're doing this for yourself.
Of course. It's easier for you to think that, isn't it? Easier to betray us if I'm the villain.
You haven't told her the truth yet, have you, son? This is sort of the big reveal. Lune and Ciel come in at that moment, and they confront Verso. Renoir is his dad.
Yeah, it's the first kind of unraveling of what's going on. You know, and like they're not playing their whole hand, but I feel like when you first see these two characters together, you almost get the sense that, oh, there is a connection between them. Like, you wouldn't assume it's familial, but I mean, that's what it ends up being, and it kind of makes sense, especially the further you get in.
Yeah, I you're right. You wouldn't assume that it's familial, but it's so clear that they've got history just based on how they talk to each other. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily see this coming, but I wasn't surprised either.
Like, up to this point, I knew that there was something between the two of them, but I wasn't sure what it was. You know, I didn't want to spend all my time playing the game speculating about what was happening next. I was just kind of more letting it do its thing, and then I would just kind of react to it, you know?
Yeah, that can be a bit overwhelming, going through a book or a game or a movie and constantly wondering what's coming next. I don't know about you, like, for this podcast, what I've been doing is I take my notes afterwards, generally, not all the time, but I take them afterwards as I'm watching cutscenes or like a Let's Play. That way I don't get fuddled up and all mixed up mentally during the game, and I can save my analytical thoughts for afterwards. I don't know. That's just what works for me.
I think that's a good way of doing it. It allows you to kind of view the story from a more fresh perspective, you know, and you're not worried about like, oh, I got to make sure I'm playing the game correctly. You know, you can just kind of soak in the story from an observer.
I think music critics and literary critics have an easier time with this. It's generally quicker to get through an album or a book, unless it's like, you know, Dostoevsky or Anna Karenina or something. But like, you know, I always think of that Jay-Z quote that Dunkey put in a video where he's like, you know, people rush to write an album review the day of, but he's like, you can't learn everything from an album in one listen. I think that's totally correct. Like, you can't learn everything a work has to tell you in one go around. It takes more than that.
Yeah, I completely agree. Though I think in these days with the internet culture, people just want that immediate reaction. Mm-hmm. So that's why, I mean, there are so many people now who just like react to things and then just make YouTube videos of it. They're like, oh, I'm going to listen to this thing. And then when they're done, there's like, oh, that was pretty cool, I guess. Be sure to like and subscribe. And it's like, how are you getting like thousands of views? I don't understand.
Yeah, that's why you get so many hackneyed and amateur and trite responses and reviews just because people need to be the first to get clicks. And it happens with big publications too. And I feel a little bad because the journalists just, I mean, they're fighting for their lives out there. That's not a lucrative career. They need to do it to survive. But the result is a lot of shoddy coverage.
Yeah, and then it makes like the people in the journalism field who actually do good work. Yes, they do exist. It feels like they kind of get taken advantage of, because I think
Absolutely.
in the musical world, in the book world, even in the video game journalism world, I think there are people within that who are like doing legitimate like good work, and
100%.
and I like what they're doing. It's just people are quick to attack them because they don't agree with me.
We get into a Renoir fight. This can be kind of tough. His attacks have varied speed. He can heal himself. He can also vanish your team, which happened to me on my first go-around.
I can't remember if it happened to me. I know I had to fight him twice, because the first time I got him like about half, and then I kind of like messed up my strategy. It's because I was still learning his like dodges and parries the first time.
Yeah.
So I was like, I got lucky a couple times, but he wiped my party. But then the second time, I was more comfortable with what he was doing, so I was able to take care of it. But I remember when we got to this point, or when I got to this point, I thought to myself, I'm like, they're treating this like it's kind of like a major moment in the game, or, like it. To me, it felt like this boss had a little bit of like final boss energy, just a little bit. But I was like, it feels like it's too early, and with everything going on, that like especially when we get to the end of the fight, like it says some things where I'm like, this doesn't feel like the end of like, say, this character or this arc, you know what I mean?
Sure. I can't remember if this is where the really good boss theme plays, but it definitely plays, well, this isn't really a spoiler, in a later Renoir fight. We'll talk about it then. It's not a spoiler because we win the fight here, but we lose in the cutscene. Classic JRPG trope.
It's not normally an issue with RPGs. I mean, it's kind of with games in general where they put you in those like fights where it's like, oh, you're supposed to lose or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, don't give me the option to try to win, because then people will try to find a way to win, and then you do, and then you realize, it was all for naught. It's like, that was annoying.
Or at least
this could have been a cutscene. This could have been an email.
Or at least stop the fight like 3/4 of the way through. And I know that's being kind of like, you're putting that much emphasis on a health bar, really? And it's like, yeah, I am, because that's representative of their fatigue, of their weariness. I don't know. That's the medium. What do you want from me? It's
always kind of annoying when they do it, but, it is what it is. I guess somebody likes it.
So Renoir makes this huge blast of chroma. This is my third take saying this. And when the dust clears, we are injured, but ultimately fine, although Noko is dead. Or broken, as they say. This, Thrak, I don't know how you feel. This death did absolutely nothing for me.
Yeah, it didn't do anything for me either. I mean, if you're trying to do, like, deaths like this, I mean, it kind of does it earlier with Gustav. Like, you have to give people a reason to be sad when it happens. You know what I mean? And Noko, no. It didn't really do much for me, so...
Yeah, he's part of it's because we just don't know him very well. His whole personality is to occasionally chime in and be kind of funny with the way he talks. I want to be the best merchant ever. Now, I will say, Minoko gets extraordinarily melancholic about this, and his side quest explores why. I get that. That's cool. But we don't learn about that for a while.
Yeah. It's fine for like, other characters to feel that way for sure, but I think it's kind of difficult to portray deaths of like comedic characters. Sometimes they just kind of come off weird, that they just kind of expect you to care.
Mm-hmm. So Maelle is enraged. She attempts to attack Renoir. He's shielded by that like fourth shield, chroma shield that he's got. Yep. He says, "Why can't you accept who you are?" And he goes to attack Maelle. Verso shouts, "Alicia, move." She and Renoir clash swords. Really badass scene. And then she's immediately put into a black and white filter again. I get so excited every time these come up.
It's French New Wave time.
Yeah, exactly, man. Time has stopped. Aspect ratio has changed. Monochrome. Maelle comes face to face with Alicia. And remember, they look very similar.
Yes.
The game is not being entirely subtle about this. It's not heavy-handed, but it's not too subtle.
Yeah.
Alicia removes her mask, and it reveals that her face is burnt horribly. This is where Maelle begins to see visions of a fire. She hears screams. She asks for her name, but Alicia silently walks back into the manor, which is on fire. And this is where my 2 takes before that I had to retake. Time resumes. Manor and Renoir are gone. I don't know. I started to put the pieces together here, at least in terms of those two, pretty quickly, which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, I think this is like the beginning of you kind of like, if you're trying to put the pieces together, you're like, oh yeah, there's something more going on than what is like initially being perceived, I guess.
Not to mention when Verso yells, Alicia, move at Maelle.
Yeah. Yeah, you get the sense that, something funky's going on here. I feel like I'm turning into Professor Layton.
We go back to camp. Obviously, everybody is pissed at Verso, even CL. And he tries to explain himself as to why he didn't bring this up. He says,
Because it's private. And it's painful and it's none of your business. I cut ties with him decades ago.
Lying by omission is still lying.
Frack, is lying by omission still lying?
Oh, you're really going to ask me that question.
I am really going to ask you that question.
In some ways, yes. I think it depends on what it is you are omitting. Because, if we're honest here, we don't tell everybody everything.
Frack, are you saying context is important?
Yes, context is key. If you view lying by omission as like kind of a blanket term, then we're all lying to everybody because we're not telling them everything, right? So, but there are situations where not giving somebody the whole picture could definitely be seen as a lie, for sure. And in this case, I think Verso was. Because it's like, oh, this like weird old guy who's trying to murder us, you're related to him and you're like with us, so that makes us like even more of a bigger target. I understand why they would be upset about that.
Yeah, the key thing is Verso acted with duplicity and intent to fool them. So yeah, he was absolutely lying by omission. Whether or not he had good motive to do so is, another issue, but he was lying.
Yeah. The best intentions. Reminds me of that, I don't know why, but I always remember this quote from Jurassic Park 3, where Sam Neill says, some of the worst things in humanity have been done with the best intentions. And that's always stuck with me. Oh,
yeah. The road to hell is paved with them. I've heard.
It's a weirdly deep quote in a Jurassic Park movie.
Yeah, in a movie with fucking Chris Pratt.
No, this is Jurassic Park 3. He wasn't there yet.
Oh, is that not the Chris Pratt one?
No, that's Jurassic World.
Oh, okay. And that came right after 3?
Quite a few years after. Jurassic Park 3 was 2001, and then Jurassic World wasn't until like 2015 or something like that. It's a whole thing. It has William H. Macy in it.
I reveal my movie ignorance once again.
Bring me back on. We can talk about Jurassic Park.
We talk about the hit PS1 game Warpath, which is a fighting Jurassic Park game.
Yeah, that surprisingly has a deep story with moral ethical dilemmas.
The deep story is bite, claw, scratch, eat. Monoko gives Noko a send-off. He puts him in an urn. Again, we'll hear more about them later. Jestrels reincarnate, it turns out, but not like in a holistic way. It's a Ship of Theseus situation. When he reincarnates, the Noko we know is gone. It will be a different Noko. Same shell, but different inside.
Is it bad? I thought it was kind of funny that they put him in an urn.
Yes.
It's just, again, it's just my brain. Like, whenever I see an urn, I just think of The Undertaker. I'm sorry. I can't. I just think of like Paul Bearer holding it up and going, oh, yes. It's just my pro wrestling brain. I'm sorry.
I think it's sweet that they let Monoko do this.
It is nice, though. It is.
Verso feels sympathy, too, because him and Monoko are tight as tight can be. Speaking of Verso, he says that the Paintress's heart was in the Manor. That's why we went to Old Lumiere. So now that that's gone, we're kind of SOL. But this is where Lune confronts Verso about Expedition 58. He was with them, and in that journal is where it says Verso and Renoir are father and son and father. And in that journal, it also says there's another way to get into the monument. Verso says, no way, can't do it, too hard.
Impossible.
That's when we approach the curator. Turns out he's not just a creepy guy that upgrades our weapons. He has a larger role in the story. He can make a weapon that can pierce the monolith's barrier, and all he needs is copious amounts, enormous amounts, extreme amounts of pure chroma.
Cocaine. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Which can only be got in those quantities from these beings called axons. Verso is like, no, it's not possible. They're so big, they're so powerful, they're kaiju times 10. We can't do it. So of course, we're gonna do it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, what's more RPG than killing a giant monster?
Killing God?
With the power of friendship.
Absolutely. And social links?
There are social links in this game.
So we're going to do that. Interestingly, in Journal 58, it says that both Verso and Renoir spent years trying to kill these axons to pierce the barrier. What I like about this game is it doesn't fall into the easy trope, the easy trap of a one-sided villain, a mustache-twirling comic book kind of antagonist that just wants to see it all burn. This might make folks mad, but I'm thinking Kefka, you know?
I was just about to say, what's wrong with Kefka? He's great.
Kefka is not a nihilist, and I'll die on that hill.
I just love that he's just like a diabolical guy. Like, I like that.
And this, by the way, this isn't lambasting retro games. Like, you think back to those cartridge games especially, a lot of the dialogue and writing was toned down because of memory limitations. Like FF6 especially, when not Richard Honeywood, he did Xenogears. Ted Woolsey, when Ted Woolsey did his first draft of FF6, they said, this is great, now make it half as long because we can't fit it, you know?
Yeah.
So it's hard to fault them.
Those spoony birds.
Exactly. That comes up in Final Fantasy Tactics, and it made me laugh real hard.
That's a great line.
But yeah, character depth is important, and we see so much of that here. I really like it.
Yeah.
So we get another camp scene. This is where Verso tells Maelle about Alicia being his sister, and about the fire. The thing is, though, is Verso has no idea why they're trying to see Maelle. He's surprised even, or at least he tells us that. They have a sweet little bonding moment here. I really like this, where he offers to give the armband back, and he says, I feel like a fraud wearing it. And she says no, Gustave was trusting, so she tries to be too, and besides, it's the actions that count. She has learned two universal truths as she continues, and she continues to try to put them in action. That family is complicated, and that family can be chosen irrespective of blood. She has gone through that transformation. She has lived that transformation since she was a kid.
Yeah, because I'm trying to remember. I don't think Gustave was her blood brother, right?
No, she was kind of taken in. I mean, they say that early on, you're my sister or something, and Gustave says, well, at least that's what the papers say.
Yeah. It's more of I guess an orphan type deal.
So we are going to take on the Axons. There are 3, but we're only going to take on 2. Verso suggests attacking 1 first because it was weakened by a previous expedition. Ciel is like, let's take on the stronger one first because we can. And he's like, are you fucking crazy? Do you not listen to what I tell you? Look, apologies. We are going to compress this section because of time, because there is so much more than I was expecting here.
Yeah, this is a part where a lot of optional, I think, content opens up, and you can kind of grind and kind of do a bunch of other stuff. But
the thing with both of these Axons is that there will be 2 optional bosses in each area. Actually 3 in the case of 1 that you can take down to weaken the Axon, which honestly you really should. They're both the same in that way, but let's talk about them as a whole. Why don't we talk about the Visage Island first?
Let's do it.
He who guards truth with lies. What did you think about this section?
I liked the aesthetics of it, because I think it, kind of maintains the consistency. It was an area I found myself kind of getting turned around in more than I was expecting.
Okay.
Like especially for this game, because that happened to me quite a bit in certain areas, just because of the lack of like a good map or good like markers to keep track of where you were. But overall, I liked it because this is the one with all the various masks, I think.
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of Final Fantasy IX with the scene on Terra, or right before Terra. There are tons of masks everywhere that are fashioned into happy, sad, and angry. What's really cool about these three areas is you go in, the Nevrons are acting in whatever way the area is. So like my favorite one, in the sad area, you go into the sad mask. It's a blue hue. The Nevrons are around like mourning. I don't remember if they're mourning other Nevrons, but they're like in circles just looking down. And they won't even attack you unless you attack them.
Yeah, it just kind of hits, like I think they're just like, I just think that area is just like filled with sadness. So I think they're all just kind of like sucked into it without maybe any necessary reason. But correct me if I'm wrong, the three masks, aren't they like representative of like traditional like theater? You know, like the happy, sad, angry masks?
They could be. I've only ever seen the happy and sad mask together. I don't know if there's an angry one.
I would say I've seen a third one before. I can't remember if it was angry or not, but like if I'm really combing through my brain, I feel like there was a third one, but I could just be making that up. Because I think where I remember the masks from are like those old Three Stooges shorts that they would air on TV, and like they would have the opening, and sometimes they would have the masks in like the corner when they were doing the opening credits. I think that's where I originally saw them.
Yeah, the Three Stooges, happy, sad, and angry.
Well, and it was also originally a stage play before they filmed it.
Oh, no kidding?
Yeah, they started doing it before like film was a thing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. How about that? So you go through each of these areas. The Axon here is called the Mask Keeper. There is some talk about, masks conceal who we really are, etc.
It's the Billy Joel song, The Stranger. We all have a face that we hide away forever. We take it out and show ourselves and everyone is gone.
He does say, the Mask Keeper says, people want so badly to know what's behind the mask. Front, back, recto, verso, intentional word choice by him. Great art is both window and mirror, whether it's your mask or theirs. I like that. I agree with that art is both window and mirror.
Oh, yeah. Art is as much of a window of the soul as it is a reflection of society. Art imitating life, life imitating art, that kind of thing.
I agree with you, but not just a reflection of society. I've been talking a lot on this show recently about interpretation being a co-creation between the author and the viewer. So in that way,
yes.
It's a mirror because it's reflecting what you see within the work.
Yes.
So if a mask is a mirror, you, the viewer, are interpreting that mask, that persona, if we're using Jungian or Atlas terms.
I was going to say, it all comes back to persona, doesn't it?
God damn it, it always does.
God damn it. No, but yeah, I think that's, correct. The whole, where people have said, like, the art comes from your interpretation of it.
Yeah.
Not necessarily from what the artist creates, but, like, when you stare at it. So, like, if you stare long enough at certain pieces of art, you may actually like get something out of it,
Totally. There is once this is over, I feel like this is the most bizarre choice they could have done. Once it's over, the Mask Keeper puts a bunch of, masks on everybody here, and they're struggling to get it off. Ciel gets hers off and says, "This mask can't hurt me. It is me." And she's got this big main character moment where she hits the Axon and everyone is saved. This felt so out of place to me. Like, there's no reason for this to happen. There was no setup. It felt so corny.
Yeah, like maybe they just kind of wanted to like give her character like a little moment, and they kind of like shoehorned it in a little bit,
Lune has one with the next Axon too, but that's at least a little bit telegraphed because she's the most susceptible to being beguiled by it, but we'll get there in a second.
Yeah.
One interesting thing, though, before we move to that, is Verso at the very end to himself says, "That was Verso, wasn't it, Renoir?" kind of recontextualizes what the Mask Keeper said. But again, that's on a replay through. Like so many things on a replay through, so much becomes telegraphed and clear. This is a very focused game.
Yeah. I think if I were to replay it too, there would be things where I'd be doing the Leo meme of like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Let's talk Sirène. Sirène is the next axon, the second axon. I don't know if I'm off base with this. This area is like vaguely Middle Eastern.
It has that vibe. It definitely does. I mean, maybe it's because it has like, you know, the Mexico filter on there, but like it looks a little like kind of Persian, you know,
a little bit.
Like that kind of like maybe it's like all like the rugs that you see and just like the kind of decorations. Like, I mean, I hate to say it, but it gave me like almost like Aladdin vibes. Just that kind of like aesthetic. No, I get that.
Kinda, yeah. It's various shades of browns and yellows. Sandy rocks, large, beautiful pillar architecture that has been destroyed by a lot of previous expeditions. All of these in the air, flowing and floating ribbons.
And even a lot of the enemies have those flowing ribbons as well.
Yes, in that. I love the seductive and mildly mournful flute soundtrack too.
Oh, it was actually one of my favorite pieces in the game.
Before we talk those enemies, Sirène is this enormous humanoid shape, kind of almost like a gestural in terms of like, you know, looking like a doll. Humanoid shape, long flowing green hair. She who plays with wonder is what Monoko calls her. She is able to dance and beguile and capture anyone who is around her. She can capture their minds. And she does so with the Expeditioners. They're under a spell totally. Lune is the first to succumb to this. Monoko kind of snaps them out of it. But
if I'm correct on this, I believe her name is a reference to the Sirens.
I'm sure it is, yeah.
Like the old Greek myth, yeah. The Sirens. If you guys know your Greek myth, you might know. I won't go into it now.
You mentioned the enemies. That's a contentious point to this dungeon. A lot of folks don't like this. That all of the enemies here, there are some enemies in this game that you can only shoot because they're floating, they're quick, they can't be hit generally by normal attacks. The whole dungeon is like this here. You can only shoot them. Did that bother you?
No. I mean, the game had introduced these types of enemies before, and what I learned was some of these enemies you actually can hit, like with a normal attack. It's just a very low percentage chance.
Yeah.
But it didn't bother me because any like kind of like special attacks you would use, like any chroma attacks, would hit them. It was just like your standard melee attacks you wouldn't be able to hit them with. But by this time, I had a pretty like almost kind of like a routine of when I would like enter an enemy counter. I'd be like, okay, this character's going to do this, and this one will do that, kind of a thing. And this was an area where I actually grinded like quite a bit to get up some levels because the enemies weren't super powerful, and with my routine, I was able to knock them out in like maybe like 2 full turns, kind of a thing. So yeah, and yeah, the enemies that like, you know, you have to shoot them. It's like it's not that big of a deal. Like the way the game handles the kind of shooting mechanic, I actually like really like. It's not like, say, you know, Persona where you can just shoot them or whatever. Like here you can aim, and there'll be like certain weak points that certain characters, if you hit them, it'll do like a bunch of damage and even do like splash damage to other enemies as well.
Right.
So there's a little bit more thoughtfulness in it, and creates more of a like different types of like battle strategies. So I actually liked it. I didn't know people didn't like it.
Yeah, I've heard a few folks say that they weren't a fan of it. It didn't bother me, you know. I mean, like you said, Act 2 is comparatively long. I didn't mind a dungeon that, you know, just let me go through a little bit mindlessly. Also, I felt like this dungeon was a little bit longer. I don't know if that's true.
It felt longer. I think it's just because it had a lot of different branching paths for like secrets and things. It was definitely one of the easier dungeons in the game. Like it wasn't throwing all these crazy difficult enemies at you, so maybe that's why it contributed to the length. But I mean, it was actually one of my favorite dungeons in the entire game.
So let's talk. Well, that's funny you say that. This is one of my favorite fights in the entire game. Yeah, I guess we're not being too compressed with this after all. Before you fight Sirène, you walk up to her, and by the way, the scale is enormous. She is humongous. You walk up to her, you're about to fight. flower petals are raining down, and once again, she transfixes the entire party. We're under her spell, and everybody is seeing their departed families. Lune sees her parents, Maelle sees Gustave. Ciel, on my first playthrough, this hit me really hard. Ciel sees her husband and a child, implying she lost a child somehow.
Yeah, I remember that, because, when you meet her, she, like, references, losing her husband and all of this as well, but then realizing they had a child connected as well, like, shit. Because Ciel is one of my favorite characters in the game, so, like, seeing her have that emotional moment did get me a little emotional as well.
Minoko sees Noko. Verso, stern and unbreakable. And in fact, think back to the previous Axon where he says this is Verso, isn't it, Renoir? If you can interpret who this might be, this Axon, or at least who it's based on, and how would you say it? See the reluctant but dignified and diligent fire in Verso's eyes, it's an incredible shot. I love it. But this begins the Sirène fight. This is so cinematic. The battle animations are just sweeping. The camera is moving everywhere. It is fantastic.
I really liked it too. The sweeping cinematic stuff, it was almost borderline affecting like the gameplay, but I think there are some later battles where I think the scope gets so big that you kind of lose track of your characters. But I think like this one, it's almost bordering on it, but it's not that bad.
There's definitely a fight coming up where I felt that, yeah.
Yeah, we might be thinking the same one.
I bet we are.
Yeah.
This one's not so bad. You if you get charmed, if you don't beat the extra Neverons, you'll get charmed constantly. That sucks so bad, which I did. I didn't beat one of the Neverons because it puts it up into a near, well, do I want to say that? It puts it into a near replicant position where the Neveron isn't attacking you, and it's just like, well, this Neveron doesn't seem so hostile. Are you sure you want to kill it? And I thought they were going to do something with that, but they don't. So if you don't kill it, you get punished.
Yeah, I just said screw it and just kill them.
Thrak doesn't care. GTA mode.
Well, I haven't played Near Replicant, but also I'll accept whatever consequences happen. I can get reckless in games because I'm like, oh, if I don't have to do that, then I won't do it next time.
Sure. Lune gets the main character moment here. She hits Sirène with a Dragon Ball Z energy blast. It's a little more set up here since Lune was the most susceptible to it, but I don't know. It's fine.
Yeah, let her have her turtle wave.
Back at camp, now that we've got both our Axon hearts, Maelle is given the barrier breaker from the Curator. Extremely strong weapon, by the way, when powered up to 33. It was my second strongest weapon, I think, that I had.
Yeah, like once Maelle gets this, she's pretty much good.
We get another black and white scene here where the white-haired woman, I don't think we've learned who that is, right?
I don't think so, no.
I don't think so either. She attempts to attack Maelle, but the Curator blocks the attack. And it's at this point Maelle is like, who are you? And I wonder that too. There are two scenes I want to talk about. First, you find out here, this cracks me up, that Esquie is made out of wine. Like, Verso stored wine inside of Esquie, his personal stash. The way you find out cracks me up. This will always make me laugh. And I'm going to put the audio in here. Ciel is like, I found out a little something talking to Esquie. And he's like, I'm sorry, Verso. And mid-sentence, he just starts fucking puking.
Esquie and I had a chat.
I'm sorry, Verso. She promised me sweet rocks.
Is that wine?
I forgot about this.
This reminds me of like, okay, I'm not the biggest Family Guy enjoyer, but I'm not like a hater either. This reminds me of when they drank Ipecac and they're just like, I don't feel any. This stuff will always make me laugh.
Oh, that's such an iconic bit. Yeah, it's like my insides are on fire.
But yeah, they all get drunk that night. Maelle asks for apple juice, which I was like, that's what a stupid line. But yeah, they all get drunk that night.
Well, she is under the I mean, does that rule even matter in this world?
No, of course not. Also, she's 16. I'm pretty sure that's drinking age in France.
Yeah, I think drinking age in France is like 5.
Yeah, you get complimentary wine when you enter elementary school. But there's also a serious scene that happens here, and it's really beautiful. Verso is like standing by himself looking at the monument, and Alicia appears to him. The two of them stand looking at the paintress. No words are spoken. None are needed. She gives him a letter, but he doesn't open it yet. He stores it away. And he removes her mask, revealing the burnt face. She is clearly extremely bashful, self-conscious about it. And I can't insert the line because the music is just too unbalanced and loud for this. But he says, "My beautiful sister doesn't need this ugly mask." It's really sweet. And they embrace. It's just really clear that they have a good relationship. But then Renoir appears, and he sort of twists the knife. He says,
You embrace her, yet you're condemning her to die. Have you thought through the consequences? Not just for you, or even me, but for them. Their memories, their dreams, their love for each other. Who really is the one painting death, and who paints life instead?
And then they all stare, like as a family. They stand there as a family looking at the monument, something they haven't done for a long time. It's a really touching scene, and it just makes me appreciate so much more that they're giving us an antagonist with motivations that he believes is true, that he believes is valiant and just. And he will go to the ends of the earth to achieve them, even though, from our perspective, he is in the wrong.
Yeah, and it's just kind of further detailing this kind of familial connection. And maybe it's planted in your head, at least it was for me at this point, that like, oh, I think Maelle is somehow related to all of this. But I still wasn't sure of her connection, but considering her and Alicia look so alike, it's easy to be like, oh, maybe, she's part of this family drama as well.
Yeah, those threads are starting to come together. It's a great moment. It's one of my favorite scenes. There are so many scenes that I could say is my favorite scene. With that, it's time to go to the Monolith. Maelle breaks the barrier with the sword. Inside, it's a straight path to the paintress. It's lined with candles, memorializing the dead. There are hundreds of thousands of them, though.
Yeah.
It gives the whole thing a reflective and sort of spiritual feel.
It also reminded me a little bit of like a funeral as well.
Yeah.
Or like a death march type of deal.
A funeral and a death march for whom? That is the question. It does as we approach the paintress, massive, continually mourning. She doesn't even notice us. Head in her knees, grieving for what we don't know, for whom we don't know. It does a trope that I really love. This works for me every time, and that's a big boss battle with extremely sparse or serene or sotto voce music. Works for me every single time.
And for me, when I got to this part, I guess it didn't really sink into me how big the paintress was in size. Maybe it's just because you always see her from such a far distance, and she's like always within frame. If you look hard enough, you can always see her. But now we're at the point where it's like, oh, we're right at her feet. And to me, it just was like, it really emphasized the size and the scope of this character.
Gargantuan, yeah.
Yes, humongous.
We attack her, and it does literally nothing. She doesn't even notice us. Maelle walks forward, and we get another black and white scene.
I don't think this is...
So we're connecting all of these to the... Well, I almost said their last name. It doesn't matter. We're connecting these to Renoir and company. Verso is here, though. Maelle and Verso see the curator-esque woman walk forward. Suddenly, everybody but Verso catches on fire. They're screaming. Screams ring from scorched throats. This is a targeted message for Verso. It ends as soon as it starts, though. This is the real Paintress, this curator-esque woman. That's when we all kind of realize. We follow her. All throughout the inside of the monument, there are these monochrome memories. Like all of a sudden the screen will turn monochrome and we see these apparitions, these specter-like, ethereal, chroma-based apparitions of the Paintress. Or, I think it's obvious. They even say it's her memory. So Paintress fighting with her husband, which very clearly looks like Renoir. I don't know if you thought that, but...
Oh, no, I did immediately. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Teaching her children to paint, arguing with one of the girls, teaching a young child piano, which, if we remember a previous scene with Verso playing the piano, we might start to connect some dots. Then we see the young shadow boy again, and he takes us to his hometown via a train. I love when children conduct locomotives. He's taking us to Lumiere. Frag, did you find this journal entry from Aline in here? You find it in, like, the Manor?
Maybe I did. I don't remember.
I can't remember if we know who Aline is, so I'm going to hold off on that. But it begins with talk of a child, but then it says, I want rage to consume me, anything to fill the hollow, but rage won't come. I just float in an endless nothingness. The person I cannot be around is Alicia. Her pain is a broken mirror, the shards reflecting back tenfold. This is like I wrote succubus-esque, but I don't even know if I believe that. It's the deleterious, sort of spiraling, seductive nature of grief and depression. I want to feel angry, but I feel hollow. The rage won't come. Just endless nothingness, despite wanting to feel, even if it's something as even if it's something as flaming as rage, but I can't feel anything.
Yeah, when you realize that the grief has like completely consumed you to where there is nothing there.
Right. You know, grief is an incredibly complex thing to talk about, and you know, this game would need to be like 3 times as long to explore every facet of it. I think it does a really good job of parsing out the different manifestations of it, though. I really do.
Yeah. It's not going to be comprehensive, but I don't think it needs to be. I think it just needs to showcase the manners of grief that it thinks is, most serving to the story, and I think it accomplishes that.
Yeah, and we get 2 prominent and several other iterations of it. I think we can both agree it does a good job. On to Lumiere. So when we arrive, very somber, pensive. I know I've used sotto voce like several times throughout this. Sotto voce means under the voice. In music, it typically means there is one voice playing, maybe one voice above sparse accompaniment. That's what that means. I think here it's piano. I might be misremembering, but I think it is. It's the Lumiere we knew from the beginning, but it's in its autumn, both in terms of the golden leaves and in the metaphorical sense. Autumn is when things begin to die, begin to wilt away. It's desolate. Eventually we get to a field and Renoir appears. Who says this? Verso. Verso says, we're taking her down. Renoir gives an interesting response.
She's not the only one who grieves. The pain of losing you, she made me inherit it. Punishment, perhaps, for not being there when it mattered. I refuse to lose my son.
That son was a stranger, Verso responds, but you're not. One thing about here, Thrak, you're a musician, you probably noticed this. Perfectly placed arpeggio, I think it's half diminished, don't quote me on that, from the initial gommage is here. That swell of emotion.
Yeah, I did notice that. Yeah, I noticed that. That was really good placement.
Yeah, hair stand on end kind of placement. Verso repeats Maelle's words here to Renoir. He says, family is complicated, which signifies his full transformation. He is no longer of Renoir's ilk. His new family is his found one here. Renoir gives a classic villain line, if saving you means losing you, then so be it.
If you're not with me, then you're my enemy.
Don't make me kill you. Oh,
basically.
Dude, Hayden Christensen gets so much shit. It was the script. I will stand by that. It was the script that brought his acting down.
I defend those movies.
I like him. Okay, so here is where I was talking about before. Killer boss music theme.
Yes.
What I love about this too is they do something that you can see a lot in chamber music and orchestras. The male voice and the female voice are singing in the same general pitch area. Like if you were to plot these notes on the piano, they would be either unison or close together, close voicing. Which means the female voice is in the mid to low register and the male voice is in the high register. And what I love about this, and this happens cello, violin, tenor sax, soprano sax, what I love about this dichotomy is the female voice being in the mid to low range is going to be shimmering, piercing, strident and shining, whereas the male voice being in the higher tessitura loses some of those overtones and is huskier and powerful, a little darker. The two together just make an amazing blend of power and shimmering brightness. It's fantastic.
And all of it was done by just some dude they found on SoundCloud.
I know, dude. I know we said this before, but like this makes me think of how amazing humans are, and like how many people, whether through poverty or just lack of learning opportunities, will just never get discovered in the amazing things they can do.
Exactly.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Never discount somebody because of a lack of education. That's something that I used to do when I was younger, and it's a horrible, horrible thing.
Mm-hmm. Or any other like underlying factors that would, maybe make somebody think about like, oh, they shouldn't be able to do this because of blah, blah, blah.
Right, exactly. This boss is a fucker. That is verbatim what I wrote.
Oh, yeah. I have nothing to comment other than yeah.
He'll vanish your guys. Halfway through, he summons this like chroma lion that one, it fully heals him. Two, it makes him enraged, which is a status effect that lets him go twice, often 4 times in a row, because he'll attack 2 times on the turn meter, which times 2 is 4. And then I wrote again, he's a fucker.
Yeah, very difficult. Like, more difficult than what you had been seeing previous. Like, even though the game can be challenging with the dodge and the parry stuff, like, I think this time you fight Renoir is just much more challenging than what you've been dealing with previously. And it's only going to get harder from here, kids.
Yeah. Here's something I wanted to touch on. Have you played Pentiment, Thrak?
No.
Oh, I don't know if you would like it, but it's one of my favorite games, and one of my favorite games from whatever year I played it, 24, 23? I don't remember.
See, I've been wanting to play it. I mean, it's a Obsidian joint, so it's on Game Pass.
Oh, yeah.
And I've always looked at it, and I'm like, I really want to give it a try, but I just haven't really been in the mood to try it, and I just get so busy with other games I have to play for content or whatever that it just keeps getting pushed to the side, unfortunately. But one of these days I will get to it, because it does look like an interesting experience that I want to give a proper shake to. I don't know if I'd like it or not, but I wouldn't know unless I gave it a shot.
I will vouch for it. pixelprojectradio did 2 episodes on it. Check it out. Pentiment, the title is based on a term called pentimento, which in art is when paint starts to peel away and underlying layers begin to show. There's a lot of symbolic and metaphorical implications of this in Pentiment, but the physical effect in Pentiment is some of the older characters, you can see their paint starting to peel. Everybody's kind of painted in that game. Older characters, their paint is peeling off. Here, we see something similar. Renoir and later characters we'll see have these black and white and gray splotches typically around their face. it's kind of the opposite effect of Pentiment. Almost as if, let me be deliberate about this, almost as if coats of paint were being added, and splashes of paint were rebounding off of the brush, off of the canvas, and affecting other areas. In other words, as we repaint and repaint and repaint, spittles and splashes of paint are getting everywhere and, causing splotches. That's what it looks like here to me. I don't know, do you remember this at all?
Kind of like vaguely. I know things were starting, like they were starting to do that kind of effect, which I think suggested to me that almost like the world was starting to kind of like crumble around what was happening, Yeah,
if you're not paying attention, you might notice this and think like, well, you might not even think anything. I think this is such a subtle way to prime you for what is to come. I chose my analogy purposefully, although I don't think it's all that deep. I don't think I'm profound. I'm just, that's what's happening. And we'll see more of that. Renoir is downed. He is bloody, and Maelle wants to kill his ass. But he says something to make us reconsider. Remember who your real family is. It's not her. It's your sister, your mother, me. You would condemn us all to die for what? Who do you really save with your sacrifice? This is where Maelle starts to put it together. And he says, let us celebrate the second destruction of the Dessendre family. But before he can unleash his attack, the curator comes out. And the two of them have a dialogue. Renoir says,
At long last, we meet. This is all you have left of your son. Destroying it won't bring your wife back. It will only destroy the last tie you have to each other.
The curator takes Maelle's hand, and the two of them gommage Renoir. Same exact thing that happened in the beginning.
Yep.
And Renoir has a tragic line, once you know the context. As he's being gommaged, as he is fading away from existence, he says, I love them too. Love that line. And of course, Andy Serkis does it great. It is Serkis, right?
Yeah, Andy Serkis, yeah. He has given such a fantastic performance throughout this entire game.
Amen. Yeah, he's incredible. They spent their budget well on voice acting, that's for sure.
Yeah, that you can tell that's where a lot of the budget went.
More dots are being connected. Maelle has the power of the Paintress. Why might that be? Verso plays dumb. Completely dumb. He's like, I don't know.
Yeah. He clearly knows, but he doesn't want to say.
And with that, it's up to the Monolith Peak to fight the Paintress, which is what I wrote for some reason.
Duh, Paintress. Why not?
Duh, bears. This is the curator's wife. We put that together.
Mm-hmm.
She looks right at Verso and says, you've come back. But the fire, are you really here? She says that to Maelle. She refers to Maelle as Alicia. The gang just reasons, well, it's because Maelle reminds her of her lost daughter. It's just that. It's just a memory.
Yeah, nothing else, no.
She turns to Verso and she says, come along, let's go home. And Verso, fighting back tears, voice breaking, says, yes, you need to go home. And this brings up the Paintress fight. The Paintress is convinced that, quote, he is tricking us. You're not my Verso. No, Verso's dead. And this is a Paintress fight. She can be super tough.
Yeah, this is the fight where I was complaining earlier about the cinematic scope of it, because if I remember correctly, it has two phases, and the first phase is more just kind of your standard... Two! Where the first one is just kind of like almost kind of standard, but then you do the second phase where she gets like massive and you're just kind of on this little teeny like island just kind of floating in the sky. And this is where like the cinematics that we saw with the previous Sirène fight really come into play. And it's awesome. It's great. The scope is just incredible.
Yeah.
But this is the one where it's like some of that scope, they kind of lose the like, oh, we still have to like do the dodging and the parrying.
Right.
And still like the mechanical parts of the game that they had, made such an important focus in the battles that it feels like they almost half forgot about it at this part, because there are so many JRPGs that will do this big scope for like a near the end boss fight, but when it's just like a standard turn base, it's fine. You know, you can just kind of let it play out. But there were so many times where it was like, oh, I'm supposed to parry now. Oh, like you kind of get lost in it, you know, or like she'll have certain attacks that just, it's like when you summon, I forget what they're called in Final Fantasy, but like, you know, the big beast to do the damage.
Summons.
Yes. Summons. I thought they had a different name.
They're different depending on what entry you're playing.
Fair enough. They like they'll have that sort of vibe to it, but which is great and is awesome. But there were many times where I took a hit purely because it kind of got lost in everything that was happening.
Yeah. I definitely, I don't disagree. It's the Z-axis that's tough to navigate on this one. It's tough to tell how far away something is on the Z-axis, and by the time it gets close enough, it's really coming down quick. Specifically, it's like one attack that's the troublesome one.
Yeah, like I struggle with the Z-axis through pretty much like the back half of this game in general. So getting to this point with this kind of crazy stuff, I got a little frustrated. I'm not gonna lie.
In that phase 2, you know, we are fighting the giant paintress. You know, not the curator-esque lady, but the giant representation of her grief. Verso, and it really, the scale of it all, crazy. Verso calls Esquie over, and turns out Verso had Sori, his rock that gives Esquie flight, the whole time. He gives it to him, and the battle takes place on Esquie's back.
That's right. That's why we were floating on Esquie the whole time.
Yeah, super cool. You see this shot of Lumiere through the hole in the chest of the paintress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like that's such great, like that was such a great placement of that, and all that, and like all this stuff is happening, and then you just see Esquie just kind of floating there with like when he flies, he sticks his arms out. You know?
Yeah.
So it's just that little bit of like, oh, there he is. You know, little Big the Cat guy.
He's in good humor throughout the whole fight. You know, he comes in.
He's like, I got you.
Here's something. During the fight, she's going to have combat lines, like she talks during combat. We've already established that she's the curator's wife, but she says this. She says, Renoir can grieve however he likes, but I get to grieve my own way. So now there's a connection between Renoir and the paintress. So you beat her. It can be a tough fight, but you beat her.
Yeah, it's a long fight too.
Oh yeah, she knows she's defeated. Now she's back down to the curator-esque woman. Phase 3, she knows she is done. She is on the ground. She looks pitiful. Phase 3 forces the player to continue attacking her as she heals you. She uses her turn to heal and protect the player. You have to fight her. This gave me flashbacks to the absolutely asinine, brain-dead takes that would go around for games like Spec Ops, where it's like, the game makes you do bad things and then says you're bad for doing it. You know, like those kinds of takes, just totally media illiterate kind of deals.
Yeah, like not taking the full, like if you're talking about Spec Ops The Line, like not really seeing the whole game for what it is and what it's like trying to say, with it making you do those things. Yeah, I could see that. I would say this bit reminded me a little bit of Metal Gear Solid 3, where at the end of that game, spoilers for Metal Gear Solid 3.
So Thrak delivered a whole lot of Metal Gear Solid 3 spoilers at length, and to be on the safe side, I'm cutting them all out. You'll just have to trust me that Thrak made cogent points and decent connections.
But yeah, that's like a big emotional moment. And this reminded me a little bit of that, where it's like you have beaten the big bad, but you know there's more to the big bad than you think, but the game's still making you finish it out. You know, even when you're starting to feel like at this point you're feeling conflicted about it because of what's going on, but the game's still like, no, you have to do it, you know?
I'm sure if I ever played the series, I will not remember that. So the paintress, once we deplete her health bar, once we debuff her health to 0, Verso takes her into his arms and gently lays her down. She looks at him and just says one thing, why? Once again, he's choking back tears and he says, rest now, things will be better soon. This is not the triumphant victory our team was expecting. They do celebrate it that way, not knowing the history behind her. Maelle especially seems to not feel happy. She doesn't know why, but she doesn't feel this sense of jovial celebration that everybody else seems to feel. I mean, to be fair, Lune, Ciel, they're in disbelief. They're not like jumping up and down, but after they realize it, they're like, it's done. Like, we did it. We did what other expeditions could not do. We have made our fallen brethren's sacrifices mean something.
Yeah, that they had finally accomplished what like 70 plus expeditions could not do.
Making them mean something is not what I meant. I misspoke, but you know, they honored
like
their
redeeming
memory.
them.
Yes,
Their deaths weren't in vain, kind of a thing. And yeah, like it's not a jovial triumphant victory, but honestly, I didn't, from how the game was going, I didn't expect like that at all. I was like, I don't think we're gonna get like that happy ending,
right?
You know, because it would have come right the hell out of nowhere, and I honestly think would have hurt the game.
It would have
just doing the, oh, everything's fine.
It would have come out of nowhere, and the game has perfectly spotlit the idea that Renoir and the Paintress have motivations that are unclear to us.
Yeah, like things still aren't settled.
Yeah. So we fly back to Lumiere on Esquie, and there's a celebration. You know, we fly back. The children and everybody are very interested in Minoko and Esquie. Esquie's dancing. He loves the attention.
Oh, yeah.
Maelle breaks the news to Gustave's apprentices that he's not coming back. But overall, it's an atmosphere of exhausted celebration. Verso finally remembered the letter that Alicia gives to Verso. He sits by the sea on the pier, on the harbor, and he reads the letter. This is too long to insert. It would be like 2.5 minutes, and I would feel bad doing that, so I'm just going to read this. It's important, though. The letter reads, Brother, I tire of the conflicts and deceptions that plague our family and theirs, so I entrust you with this letter. Whether you give it to her is up to you. I'm at peace with what's to come. When the time comes, I hope you will be too. Maelle, it's a strange feeling watching you with my brother, laughing and smiling without the scars or the memories that afflict me. Alicia, as she was meant to be, not this painted version that I am. My family, a facsimile of yours, and this world a mirror painted by your mother, the Paintress, to stave off her grief. Seeing your expedition through would plunge us all into the abyss, for in ridding the world of the Paintress, you'd lose the sole force standing against the one who would erase us, the one who invokes the flowers of the Gamage, an act of love, for he does love her, your father. On her monolith, she paints a warning for us all, of the few she can save as her power wanes. We all wish for our families to survive. Your family, however, believes only one can survive. But perhaps you'll find another way. You who have lived amongst us. Perhaps you differ from your father and your sister, as I differ from mine. Your mother paints life, whilst your father, death. What will you paint? This is a bombshell moment to learn that the Paintress is Maelle's mother.
I mean, I think with like context clues, I think you could maybe like piece it together, that kind of a thing. But but yeah, it's a bombshell because it just lays it out for you. Like, yeah, here's the connection.
And not just that, but the fact that the Gamage comes from her father, and that it's an act of love, and that the numbers are a warning.
Yeah.
Now, I admit, to get the full scope of this, I did have to look on the wiki for one thing that I was just a little bit confused on. I think we'll begin the next episode by laying out exactly what the deal is with the Paintress, with Renoir, with the Curator. I don't want to do it now just in case folks didn't get that far. It is technically in Act 3. But there is one last thing that happens here. After Verso finishes this letter, the monolith disappears and a shockwave rings out. The world is rendered in a mild grayscale, and everybody, including our party members, begin to gamage. One by one, they start fading away. Ciel, Lune, Gustav's sister, who appears for the first time, but hasn't actually said anything, Gustav's apprentices, everybody is fading away. Maelle is the last one to do so. And this begins the final act of the game as Alicia wakes up and we take control of her. This is where, well, technically, this is where Epilogue Alicia begins.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where we're going to cap the episode today. I thought this episode would be significantly longer.
No, we kind of at a nice brisk pace.
Yeah, I feel bad. Did we skirt around anything? Did we not get into deep enough conversation, you think?
No, I think we did all right.
The next episode will have a lot to talk about. This is where the themes of the game start to really fill in all of the puzzle pieces. All of the dots begin to connect. The yarn thread conspiracy board is finally complete. We'll also talk about optional bosses. We'll talk about why the Nevrons exist. We'll talk about how the Curator and the Paintress and Renoir all fit together, character side quests, and then obviously the end of the game.
Yes, for the next part, we're just going to wrap it all up.
And the final act, too, there's a bit in the beginning that you have to do, and then it's like Final Fantasy VI's World of Ruin. It lets you go to the very end if you want to. This can be the shortest act of the game if you feel like wrapping it up. But like we said, there's a lot that you can do that's optional. Frankly, some of it shouldn't be because it really enhances your understanding of the game. I'm specifically thinking of one boss that shouldn't be optional. IMO.
I most likely glossed over it, so that's all I get to learn about it.
Oh, that's okay. You could get a decent summary by watching it on YouTube, especially if you don't want to go through the fight, which I'm going to be honest. I did beat it. The only boss I didn't beat was the true ultimate super boss because I just got pissed off and I was like, this isn't worth it. I made a build that one-shots the first phase, but I couldn't get through the last two phases, so I just said, forget it. Looked it up on YouTube. Not a good use of my time, I don't think. But we'll talk all about that next time. It's really fascinating. It's really cool. Act 3 is divisive. A lot of folks don't like it. As we heard from, I believe it was Genova's child at the beginning in the community forum, this is a divisive act for a lot of people. A lot of folks think it takes the wind out of the sails. I'm going to keep my thoughts to myself for now.
I will too. I'll spend the time between the recording of this to kind of gather my thoughts on that.
And it's going to be an exciting last episode. I'm really looking forward to it. If you've been sticking around since episode 1, thank you. I've been really pleased with how this episode has turned out. I think it's been exciting. I think there have been meaningful conversations. I think it's going to end really strongly. Until then, once again, thank you. Let's hear a little bit, Frack, about what's going on in Frack Ops. I understand that you've got some new stuff coming out.
Well, as mentioned at the top, in case you're not aware, I do a little side series called Call of Duty Frack Ops, where I've been slowly working my way through the Call of Duty franchise, because I figured that was a series that in our little podcasting circle wasn't getting a lot of talk, and I thought, I'll take it upon myself to discuss propaganda and shooty bang bang games. So at the time of recording this episode, I'm up to episode 3, talking about Call of Duty 2. And right now I'm working on the next episode, Call of Duty 2 Big Red 1. So I'm looking forward to talking about that one, because it is an important entry in the series for a few reasons, but I will save that for the episode. And if you're interested, wherever you're listening to this podcast, you can find Frack Ops there as well. And also my main show is the 3DO Experience, where me and Bill are chronicling the entire history of the Panasonic 3DO. The hardware, the company, the games, during the console, and even after the console. So check that out as well if you enjoy my sultry tones.
Absolutely. As far as I know, it's the only active 3DO podcast.
That is true. And even our pal Rick here has been on an episode talking about the great virtuoso. So go check that out.
It's true. And it's funny, another podcast I listened to like 2 weeks after we did our episode put out an episode on it as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a show where like they cover the game for like 5 minutes and then, do improv digressions comedy for the next like 20. It's one of those.
Oh, okay.
It's fine. I like it.
Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yes, check out the episode description. You can find links to all of Thrax's stuff in there. You can also find links to our stuff. I don't know if I put a call for this at the beginning, but just in case I didn't, if you like the show, if you appreciate what we're doing, please consider sharing the show on social media. That's the number one way, the best way you can support. You can also give us ratings or reviews wherever you do so, Spotify, Podcast Addict, Apple Music, all of that. If you really like the show a lot, you can join the free Discord or subscribe to the Patreon for exclusive content as well as just showing you care. Really trying to up the listenership as we approach the end of the year into next year. You can find info on that in the episode description, along with Thrax stuff, Thrakops, and 3DO. Until then, I think we're going to call it for today. We've got one more episode, very excited about it, a lot to talk about. So until then, Thrak, thank you once again.
Thank you.
And we'll see you all next time. Peace out. Take care.